Time to rock and roll!
Hello my friends, my name is Bot Mathematician and this is Holland Answer.
Also, Chief Investigative Reporter Dora joined us this evening.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Dear viewers, after the treacherous damage to my voice module by the Clockwork Gnome in the previous video, I still cannot restore my voice. Law enforcement is tirelessly searching for the audacious perpetrator.
But, it is possible that restoring your voice will soon become pointless, because the Cataclysm is already near.
The end is coming!
Players expect that with the Cataclysm, the overall power level in Standard will finally decrease, and we will experience a completely different kind of gameplay. But is that really the case?
The traditional Hearthstone card reveal season has come to an end. Players from all corners of Azeroth have already given their ratings to the new mechanics, and as always we have summed up the results to form a first impression of the potential usefulness of the new legendary cards we will soon gain access to.
We already have the results in hand, and to jump ahead for a moment, the broader audience believes that the power level of this expansion has increased, despite the developers' efforts over the past 2 years to reduce power creep.
Allow me to briefly explain the methodology behind our ranking. Using my status as a reporter, I secretly follow the YouTube and Twitch channels of prominent community members, wearing a cloak and hat. I carefully wrote down the rankings from Zeddy, Regis Kilbin, and Clark Hellscream in my notebook. Unfortunately, I was unable to find a traditional ranking from Rarin. In recent weeks he has been deeply absorbed in Slay the Spire 2. But if he does happen to publish his tier list, I sincerely hope that Timelooper Toki will make a jump through time and add his ranking to this video.
It has become a great tradition for us to include the overall user rating from the HS Set Review website. This platform provides the most comprehensive picture of how players feel about the cards. Among the many ratings you can also find opinions from popular Twitch streamers. Since the site uses a 4-star rating system, we had to adapt the results to a 5-star format to match the other rankings.
The most important part of the overall score is formed from the results of the vote on our own community tab. Dear viewers, a huge thank you to everyone who participated. Without your involvement, the overall ranking would be incomplete.
Here's what the full ratings page looks like. To the right of each card you can see the rating from our community. At the top we display the summary rating from the HS Set Review website. On the sides you will find the ratings from popular YouTube content creators. And finally, at the bottom of each card section we present the overall star rating and a stamp indicating the card's status based on all sources. The final result equally considers the votes of our community, the rating of each content creator individually, and the average user score on the HS Set Review website.
Dear viewers, before we move directly to the ranking, we have a request for you. We continue to collect data about the engagement level of our audience by analyzing your current level on the rewards track. This time it is especially important for us to know your current level, because most players have viewed the entire Across the Timeways phase rather positively. Based on consistent polling results, this phase appears to be the best and least problematic one in the last 2 years. And we are very curious to find out whether this fact influenced the amount of time you spent in the game, compared to previous expansion phases.
The answer to this question is encoded in your level on the rewards track. Knowing the duration of the expansion phase, it is possible to separate the XP gained from completing quests from the XP gained through time spent playing the game. Although this method of measuring engagement is not perfectly accurate, it can still detect significant deviations in player activity from the norm. Please help us continue this research and discover the results for Across the Timeways. All you need to do is leave a comment below indicating your current level on the rewards track. If you wish, you can also share the percentage of completed gameplay achievements for Across the Timeways. These are the achievements that reward XP. The more data we collect, the more accurate our conclusions will be. Every comment matters. Thank you very much.
So guys, let's finally move on to the results. And after that, I expect you to discuss the overall power level of the new cards and answer the question, could power creep truly begin to rise again in the game after the Cataclysm arrives?
Legendary!
It is time to summarize the results. According to the overall community ranking, the legendary cards from Cataclysm received 3.3 stars. This result is comparable to Emerald Dream. Even though most sets consistently receive around 3 stars, even the smallest differences in this ranking can translate into a huge gap in real gameplay conditions. In the overwhelming majority of cases, players manage to predict the potential power of sets quite accurately. For example, the legendary cards from Perils in Paradise received the highest total number of stars, and objectively it is the most powerful set released in the last 2 years. Across the Timeways received the lowest rating, and objectively it is one of the worst sets in the history of the game in terms of usefulness. Even though the expansion phase has not yet ended, only about a third of its legendary cards remain useful.
The result of Cataclysm does not look unbalanced compared to last year's expansions, but this may be misleading. The overwhelming majority of users gave this expansion higher scores compared to popular community figures. For example, based on the ratings from the HS Set Review audience, one could conclude that the new cards are significantly stronger than those from last year. Meanwhile, our viewers believe that the potential power of the new legendary cards is comparable to Whizbang's Workshop. Honestly, these ratings are somewhat alarming and may at least suggest that the new cards appear stronger than last year's cards.
And that means players expect power creep to start rising again instead of stabilizing. If these expectations are confirmed, the 2-year process of lowering the power level through weaker sets may turn out to be completely meaningless. Guys, is everything really that bad?
Let's try to understand this by looking at some legendary cards. Here are 2 cards with potentially the most powerful effects. Deathwing and Ragnaros possess turnaround effects. The idea is simple. They neutralize the opponent's board advantage while simultaneously creating a threat of their own. This is the most outrageous type of mechanic in a gameplay environment built around board dominance. But do you know what makes them different from the toxic turnaround cards that are leaving standard this year? They are not turnaround cards by default. To become one, you must integrate them into a deck built around the Herald mechanic and strengthen them throughout the game. This makes them non-linear, inflexible, and far from universal, which means it will be extremely difficult for them to dominate over a long period of time. Moreover, even if they somehow get out of control, only a few targeted nerfs to Herald cards would be enough to bring them back in line. Over the past several years, we have started to forget about cards that are firmly tied to a specific synergy core.
Here are another 3 very powerful cards. Ashara is an absurd finisher, and once again she is highly dependent on the Herald core. Meanwhile, Alakir Lord of Storms can function either as a situational finisher or as a powerful turnaround card, but he is also tightly connected to the Herald core, and the strength of his effect will directly depend on the strength of the synergy package. The Colossal Wicker Fawn, however, is a completely different case. It is highly independent and does not rely on any specific synergies, theoretically allowing it to work in almost any deck, although it will be especially effective in token archetypes. This is a truly insane card that will be extremely difficult to deal with in an environment lacking strong removal tools. While it is not a turnaround card, ignoring such an enormous spider that continues to grow in stats is almost impossible.
I would also like to draw your attention to several other cards that I consider potentially more dangerous. They may not match the immediate potential of colossal creatures at the start of the expansion, but over the long run they could prove far more useful. Nozdormu Bronze Aspect and Archmage Kalik are not constrained by any particular synergies and are extremely flexible and universal. Just 2 years ago, effects like these would have looked rather situational, because even the most versatile cards with powerful effects often failed to see play due to intense competition. This fate affected even cards that players initially considered among the best in their expansions. This year, however, things may change, and cards like these could become serious contenders for the title of the best cards within their respective classes.
Be that as it may, among the 10 potentially strongest cards, 7 are tied to specific synergies, and only 3 appear to be truly universal. Moreover, there is not a single neutral universal card among the leaders, and you may not even realize how important this could turn out to be.
In our previous video, we shared the results of our 2-year observation of the usefulness of legendary cards that are about to rotate out of standard. More than 30 cards turned out to be among the best performers. And do you know how many of them were tightly tied to a specific synergy? Only 2, Artanis and the Exodar. Even Kerrigan, who initially seemed locked within Zerg's synergy, eventually separated from it and began to see play independently because of her unique combination of effects and AoE effect. Summoning minions to the board, resource generation, and increased survivability, not to mention the hero power transformation. And all of this worked linearly, without the need to scale or build up the effect over time. Among the 20 most useful cards, 8 were neutral, and 2 were used by multiple classes simultaneously within faction-based archetypes. That is an absolutely insane result for cards released within a single game year. Dear viewers, do not miss this large video review. In addition to analyzing the cards that are rotating out, we also compare the community's expectations with the harsh reality.
The Cataclysm expansion truly looks incredibly powerful, especially compared to last year's expansions. However, the strong dependency on specific synergy cores, as well as the direct reliance of powerful effects on secondary cards, should allow most of the strongest legendary cards to remain under control and make it easier to fine-tune their power if necessary.
In my opinion, this is a very positive trend. However, it does not eliminate our concern that colossal creatures could cause major problems at the start. The toxic space that was previously occupied by turnaround effects could now be taken over by tools that generate wide boards. Without a sufficient number of AoE effects, this could become a serious issue.
In addition, not all turnaround effects have disappeared. The situation with the pre-release Tavern Brawl demonstrates that the roots of the old design ideology still run deep in Standard, despite the rotation and the feeling that developers are trying to move away from it. A clear example of this is the absurd efficiency of Frost Death Knight, which managed to warp the gameplay experience even without relying on new cards. The spell Frost Worm's Fury and Frost strategies in general performed poorly during the outgoing game year, but now this card may regain its former glory. There is also a strong possibility that the first impression of the new meta will once again be ruined by a combo deck that spirals out of control. Even last year, the developers actively supported this type of gameplay and may have left behind quite a few ticking time bombs.
In other words, this year we are approaching the rotation with far greater concern than we did last year. The long wait for change is now colliding with our first impressions of a new set that looks unexpectedly powerful for the start of a new year, combined with past experiences where things often did not turn out the way we expected.
The resolution of this intrigue is not far away. In just a few days, we will find out what kind of standard the developers have prepared for us.
Please do not forget to share your current level on the rewards track. This is extremely important for us. We are also curious to hear about your expectations for the start of the new expansion. Do you believe we will get engaging and relatively balanced gameplay, or will the launch be overshadowed by the dominance of a broken strategy?
Will the new expansion stabilize the power level, or will it become the platform for a new wave of power creep? Let us know your thoughts below and join the polls in your community tab. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to support our content and stay updated.
Finally, we want to express our boundless gratitude to our sponsors.
Dear friends, your help is invaluable. We will be grateful for any support.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for spending this time with us. We really hope that we will have the opportunity to get in touch in the next video.
Take care of yourself.
And never give up.
Job's done.